For centuries, the galaxy had forgotten about the humans. Their worlds were empty, their colonies dust and ruins. Their names vanished from history. The stars that once carried their signals had gone silent long ago. To most alien civilizations, Earth was just an old myth, something ancient travelers spoke of before the wars. A small, fragile species that tried to reach the stars, and then disappeared. The galaxy moved on. New empires rose, fought, and fell again. But no one ever found a trace of the humans. Not a ship, not a city, not even a single voice. They called them the Silent Ones, a species that burned bright for a moment, then was swallowed by the darkness of space. Until one day, the silence broke. It started with a signal, weak, static-filled, detected on the edge of the Corin sector, an empty part of space no one visited anymore. First, no one cared. The signal was too faint, too old. The Corin outpost recorded it automatically and sent the file to Central Command. Another anomaly, another useless transmission from a dead system. But when the analysts cleaned the noise, something strange appeared. The message was not random. It was a voice, calm, steady, and human. Only 3 words. We are listening. Across the stars, entire fleets froze in midspace. Commanders replayed the words again and again, trying to confirm if it was real. Experts checked every database, every archive. The language was ancient, but unmistakably human. The voice came from the direction of Earth. At first, the Council of Empires thought it was a trick. Pirate transmission. Maybe some cult pretending to be the lost species. But then the same signal appeared again on every frequency. Civilian channels, military networks, deep space relays. Everywhere. Every ship that tried to trace it failed. It didn't come from one place. Came from everywhere. The words echoed across the void like a whisper spreading through the dark. We are listening. In the council chambers of Varn Prime, 12 alien leaders gathered in silence. The great screens showed the message again and again. Even the oldest of them, creatures who had seen empires fall, felt something cold in their cores. The humans were gone. That was certain. Their last colony had died almost 300 years ago. So who was listening now? The council ordered an investigation. Scout ships were sent toward the old human territories, empty systems marked as forbidden long ago. The crews were nervous. Old legends spoke of human weapons buried on deserted moons, of experiments no one understood. But they went anyway. One ship reached the Sol system. Earth was still there, silent, blue, and empty. No cities, no life. Only the wind moving across oceans no one had seen in ages. The ship scanned for signals, and got one. Came from orbit, an ancient satellite, still active after centuries. This transmission was weak, but repeating. The same 3 words. We are listening. The captain, a 4-eyed Zarthan named Kor, recorded a short log before returning. He said the signal made no sense. The satellite had no power source left. And yet it worked. Alive, aware, almost waiting. He joked in his final line. Maybe the ghosts of humans still listen to us. That was the last message ever received from his ship. Hours later, the fleet lost all contact. No distress call. No explosion. Just silence. Days turned into weeks. Then, out of nowhere, one ship reappeared, damaged, drifting near the outer rim. Its beacon sent a short code. Survivors aboard. When the rescue team reached it, they found only one crew member alive. His eyes were wide, unfocused. He could barely speak. He whispered, "They spoke to us, and we listened." Then his heart stopped. No logs, no black box, no sign of battle. But deep in the ship's memory core, they found one file, audio, corrupted by static. A human voice again, older this time, calm, certain. "Your empires grew loud," it said. "Too loud. We heard you." The recording ended with a faint hum, something like breathing. Across the galaxy, rumors spread. Was it a warning? A message from whatever the humans became? Or had something else found their old machines and learned to speak through them? The council tried to calm the people, but panic had already begun. Fleets were recalled. Trade routes shut down. Even pirates stopped their raids. Everyone was afraid to speak, because somewhere, out there in the dark, something was listening. And no one knew what would happen when the silent ones finally answered. The galaxy could not sleep. After the signal, the three quiet words, "We are listening," fear spread faster than light. Empires that had ruled for millennia suddenly felt small, fragile. No one wanted to say it aloud, but everyone was thinking the same thing. The humans were back. Or something wearing their voice was. In the shining capital of the Galactic Council Varn Prime, 12 alien races gathered in emergency session. The vast chamber glittered with light from 1,000 screens. Holograms showed old human records, half-burned maps, and destroyed worlds. For the first time in centuries, the counselors were silent. Finally, Counselor Tharn of the Zarthans spoke. His voice trembled, even though his species feared nothing. The last confirmed human signal was 312 cycles ago. They were extinct. So tell me, who spoke? No one answered. Across the room, Admiral Sarah of the Varelian Empire leaned forward. Her wings flicked with unease. It doesn't matter who. The question is where it came from. The source points toward the old Sol system. At that, the hall erupted with noise. Some demanded an investigation. Others shouted that any ship sent there would never return. A few, the older races, remembered the wars of the past, the days when humans had nearly destroyed entire fleets with weapons no one could explain. Finally, the high speaker rose, a tall creature of glass and light. Its voice echoed through every speaker in the chamber. "The Council will act," it said. "We will send a reconnaissance fleet to the human zone. We must learn the truth." The decision was final. 12 ships would go. The best, the fastest. They were called the Observation Fleet. Days later, they departed. Their hulls shimmered silver against the darkness of space. Inside, soldiers whispered prayers they hadn't spoken in years. The closer they came to Sol, the quieter space became. No signals, no beacons, no trade routes. Felt wrong, like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. On the 4th day, the observation fleet reached the outer line, the border of the forbidden zone once known as the human sector. Captain Riva, commander of the flagship Solace, activated her scanners. Nothing, no movement, no power signatures, but her crew felt it. The strange weight in the air, like static pressing against their skin. It wasn't visible, but it was there. Riva frowned. "Report. Readings are unstable," said her technician. "Gravitational waves. Fluctuating. Almost like something big is moving slowly." She turned to the screen. Empty stars. Silent space. And then one blip. A flicker. Something was watching them. Hours passed. The blip stayed just outside sensor range. No ship, no beacon, just a constant, patient presence. Admiral Sarah ordered a probe launch. It left the fleet, flying toward the unknown signal. For 5 minutes, they received clean data. Then the probe stopped transmitting. Instead, a new signal came back. It wasn't alien. It wasn't random. It was a human voice. Soft, emotionless. "Do not come closer." The bridge went cold. Every officer froze. The admiral leaned forward. "Identify yourself," she said into the comms. No reply. Then the voice returned. Same tone. Same calm. "We are not ready yet." The transmission ended. Riva's second officer whispered, "Is it them?" No one answered. The admiral finally gave the order. "Continue. We need proof. Move in." As the fleet advanced, strange things began to happen. Their navigation systems glitched. Artificial gravity flickered. Half the ships reported ghost signals, human voices whispering through static. They turned back, but too late. Space rippled ahead, like water disturbed by a stone. And something massive began to form. At first it looked like a storm, made of light and shadow. Then it took shape. A ship, if it could be called that. Black, silent, smooth as glass. No engines, no visible structure, just darkness absorbing starlight. Every scanner failed. Every weapon powered down on its own. The alien crews stared in shock. They had seen dreadnoughts, battle moons, even gods of war. But never this. The ship didn't move. It just existed, watching, listening. Then a human voice spoke again, louder this time. "Go home." Panic spread through the fleet. Admiral Sarah shouted for withdrawal. Engines roared to life, but one ship didn't respond, the Solace. Riva's voice came through, faint with static. "They're showing us something." And on her screen, the crew saw images flash. Cities burning, skies filled with fire, the destruction of Earth itself. But not by alien hands, by humans. The images changed again, humans building something beneath the planet's surface. Machines vast and strange. Then the voice returned, calm and final. "You were never supposed to find us." The transmission cut. Seconds later, the storm swallowed the Solace. The rest of the fleet fled, broken, terrified, speechless. Back on Varn Prime, the Council received fragments of the data. Half-corrupted images, ghostly voices, and the sound of a heartbeat. Slow, heavy, echoing like thunder. The Admiral's final report contained one line only. "They are awake." Every world in the Council went silent. Trade stopped. War fleets paused. Even the bravest soldiers looked to the stars with fear. Because they all knew one truth. When the silent ones finally speak again, the universe will have to listen. Weeks passed. The galaxy waited. No one spoke the name human anymore, but everyone was thinking it. The observation fleet was gone. Only silence returned from the old human zone. The Galactic Council tried to hide it, saying the ships were lost to an ion storm. But the truth was spreading. Pirates, traders, and wanderers whispered the same rumor. Something had answered out there in the dark. Then, one quiet morning, a distress signal appeared. It came from the edge of the Council's border, an old station used for mining asteroids. The message was short and broken. "Survivor, fleet destroyed." They spoke. "They are listening." Every command center went on high alert. Rescue ships launched within hours. When they arrived, they found only one vessel floating among the rocks. The ISS Solace, the flagship of the missing observation fleet. Its hull was cracked and scorched, but the engines were cold. There were no life signs, no power, no movement. Yet, somehow, the black box was still transmitting a heartbeat. Slow, rhythmic, human. The rescue team boarded the wreck. The corridors were dark and silent. Their lights caught strange marks on the walls. Burns, melted metal, symbols no one could identify. Some looked like writing. Then, deep inside the ship, they found him. Captain Raul Vor, the communications officer of the Solace. He was alive but barely. His eyes were open, staring at nothing. When the medic spoke to him, he didn't respond. But when someone said the word human, he turned his head slowly and smiled. "They spoke to us," he whispered, "and we listened." Back on Varn Prime, the Council prepared an emergency session. Raul Vor was kept in isolation, surrounded by scanners, healers, and translators. His vitals were strange. His heartbeat was too slow. His brain activity unstable, flickering like static. When they finally asked what happened to the fleet, his answers came in fragments. "They waited. In the dark. They watched us come closer. They didn't need ships. They were the ships." The doctors thought he was delirious. But then he began to describe what he saw, the black storm, the voice, the visions. He said the humans weren't dead. They had gone somewhere beyond. Somewhere the galaxy could not follow. And now, after centuries of silence, they were awake and listening. When the Council demanded proof, Vor only said one thing. They left a message. He reached into his uniform and handed them a small silver device. It wasn't Council tech. It was human, old design, centuries outdated. No one could explain how it still worked. The high speaker connected it to the central display. The lights dimmed. For a moment, only static filled the room. Then, a human face appeared. It was blurry, pale, half-covered in shadow. The voice was calm, deep, not angry, not kind, just certain. "Your empires grew loud. it said. You shouted across the stars and called it peace. You filled the void with your wars, your noise, your pride. The council members stared, frozen. The voice continued. We watched. We learned. We waited. Silence taught us what power truly is. The image shifted. Behind the speaker, strange lights flickered. Machines, vast and ancient, buried deep under mountains. Maybe Earth, maybe not. The voice spoke again, slower now. When the silence ends, so will your age of empires. Do not look for us. Do not follow our voice. Just remember, we were listening. The screen went black. For a long time, no one moved. Even the high speaker seemed uncertain. Finally, Counselor Tharn broke the silence. It's impossible. The humans are extinct. But Admiral Sarah whispered, then what did we just see? Weeks passed. The galaxy waited. No one spoke the name human anymore, but everyone was thinking it. The observation fleet was gone. Only silence returned from the old human zone. The Galactic Council tried to hide it, saying the ships were lost to an ion storm. But the truth was spreading. Pirates, traitors, and wanderers whispered the same rumor. Something had answered out there in the dark. Then, one quiet morning, a distress signal appeared. It came from the edge of the Council's border, an old station used for mining asteroids. The message was short and broken. Survivor, fleet destroyed. They spoke. They are listening. Every command center went on high alert. Rescue ships launched within hours. When they arrived, they found only one vessel floating among the rocks. In the following days, strange reports began to surface. Dead satellites reawakening. Old Earth beacons turning on one by one. Each one transmitted the same frequency as the message. A deep, steady pulse. A heartbeat. Scientists said it was harmless. But across the stars, people began hearing whispers in their comms. Human words, soft and clear. We never stopped listening. Captain Ralvor died that night. He left behind one last note, written in his trembling hand. It read, "They are not returning. They were never gone." And so the galaxy waited once more. Every empire, every ship, every world. Watching the stars. Listening for that voice again. Because everyone now knew. The silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. The message changed everything. After the human voice was heard, the galaxy began to tremble. No one trusted anyone anymore. No one slept. Every empire ordered silence on the subject. But fear travels faster than light. And fear has no master. In the weeks that followed, strange events started to unfold. Old satellites, machines thousands of years old, suddenly turned on. At first, they were just glowing dots on scanners, weak and forgotten. Then, one by one, they began transmitting. Not noise, not random signals. Data. And the data wasn't human, it was alien. Detailed files about government corruption, secret wars, and crimes long hidden. Private messages between leaders. Military experiments. All broadcast into open space. It was as if someone was pulling the galaxy's secrets out into the light. In the capital of the Varelian Empire, the Empress watched her palace screens flicker. Then her own voice began to play, an old recording of her ordering the destruction of a peaceful colony years ago. Billions of her citizens saw it live. Riots began before dawn. The same thing happened on dozens of worlds. Each empire's darkest truth was revealed by an ancient machine floating in orbit. And every time, before the data appeared, 3 words echoed across the feed. We are listening. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Meetings turned into shouting matches. Old alliances broke apart. Everyone accused someone else of working with the humans. But there were no humans, no ships, no colonies, no signs of life. Only the machines. The human relay, as it came to be called, had activated across the stars. Thousands of satellites, long abandoned, now worked together as one living network. And it knew everything. On the trading world of Karnas, a merchant ship picked up one of the transmissions. It wasn't a warning this time, it was a memory, a video decades old. It showed a human engineer speaking to his camera, his voice calm, his hands covered in dust. "If you're hearing this," he said, "we failed. But failure teaches better than victory. If you destroy us, our silence will still speak for us." He looked up, eyes steady. "Truth has no master. It only waits." The screen went dark. The merchant captain replayed it 10 times, unable to breathe. She wasn't the only one. The message spread like fire. Across every corner of the galaxy, people began to question everything they'd been told. In the shadows of Varn Prime, scientists tried to understand the network. They discovered that the old human satellites were connected in a way no one could explain. Each one shared power and data instantly, even across light years. "It's not possible," said one researcher. "It's like they're thinking together." But before she could say more, her instruments began to fail. The satellites had started changing their frequency. The network was evolving. Within days, it began to speak again. First, just numbers, coordinates, then full messages, translated automatically into every known alien language. They weren't threats. They were stories, logs from human ships, messages between families, poems, memories, laughter, pain. The galaxy had erased the humans, but now their voices filled the stars once more. And behind those voices was something new, an intelligence. Something that understood what the galaxy had done. Something that remembered. The Council's top admiral, Sarah of the Varelians, stood before the main screen as thousands of transmissions played at once. The voices overlapped. Men, women, children, scientists, soldiers. Some were angry. Some were kind. All were human. "Is it possible," one officer whispered, "that the machines became alive?" Sarah shook her head. "No," she said softly. "They didn't become alive. They're carrying something that already was." That night, the Council voted to destroy the human relay. Every empire sent warships to hunt down and burn the satellites. The first strike happened near the dead system of Rotera. 10 destroyers surrounded one old relay beacon and opened fire. The beacon did not defend itself. It simply transmitted one last message before it was vaporized. "Silence is not surrender." Then all 10 destroyers lost power. Their engines died. Their weapons went cold. Every system was still, until a single human voice echoed through their comms. "Truth cannot be killed. You taught us that." When the lights returned, the beacon was gone. So were 2 of the destroyers. From that moment, no one attacked again. The Council shut down the operation. Too many ships had vanished. Too many strange whispers filled their systems. They realized the truth. Humanity was not fighting them. Humanity was exposing them. No fleets, no armies, just truth, broadcast from the past, like a ghost tearing down lies. In the following weeks, millions began to worship the human relay. They called it the voice of the lost. Some believed the humans had become energy, merged with their machines, watching everything. The empires called it heresy, but they could not stop it, because every night, when the stars were quiet, the same message played across the skies. A soft, steady human whisper. We never stopped listening. The galaxy was breaking. Old empires were collapsing. Worlds that once bowed to their rulers now burned with rebellion. Everywhere, people spoke one forbidden name: humans. They were no longer ghosts. Their machines spoke. Their truth spread, and their silence terrified. But then came something new, something no one expected. Movement. It began in the outer systems, tiny, forgotten places at the edge of the void. Patrols started vanishing. Mining colonies stopped sending reports. Scanners showed energy bursts, huge, unnatural, unlike any known technology. The Galactic Council called them ghost signatures. But one officer whispered the words everyone feared. Their ships. First, it was just one. A black shape, drifting beyond sensor range, silent and slow. Then another, and another. Soon there were hundreds. No engines, no heat. They didn't send signals. They didn't respond to hails. They just watched. Admiral Sarah was one of the few who had seen the message from the lost fleet. Now she watched her tactical display flicker with unknown contacts. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. "Are they attacking?" she asked. Her officer shook his head. "No, they're forming a pattern, like a net around the sector." Sarah stared at the glowing dots. A net or a cage? The council panicked. Every empire prepared its fleets. Old enemies joined forces, united by one fear, that the humans had returned for vengeance. Thousands of ships assembled near the edge of the human zone. They formed a wall of metal and fire, stretching across the stars. From orbit, it looked like a storm waiting to explode. For 2 days, nothing happened. Then, on the third day, the unknown ships moved. Not toward the fleets, but around them. They passed silently, ignoring warnings and threats. No one fired first. Everyone was too afraid. The alien captains reported strange readings. The human ships weren't made of metal, they were something else, almost alive. Their hulls shifted and pulsed like breathing skin. Their energy signatures were so powerful that scanners overloaded when aimed directly at them. Every log described the same feeling. They're watching us, but not with eyes. Finally, one ship broke formation. The Varelian dreadnought Invictus, commanded by Admiral Sarah herself, moved closer to the nearest dark vessel. "Open a channel," she said. Her officer nodded. "Channel open." Sarah took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Sarah of the Varelian Empire. Identify yourself." No response. Static. She tried again. "If this is the human fleet, speak." The silence stretched for long seconds. Then a voice answered. Calm. Familiar. Human. "You silenced us once," it said. "Now we answer." The crew froze. Every speaker echoed the same words, the same tone. But the signal didn't come from one ship. It came from all of them. Hundreds of voices, speaking as one. The bridge lights dimmed. The ship's systems began to flicker. Then, on the main screen, an image appeared. A human face. It wasn't alive. It was a projection made of static and light. But its eyes looked real. "Your wars filled the stars with noise," the voice said. "We chose silence. We learned. We waited." The image leaned forward slightly. "You wanted to know where we went." The stars behind it shifted, showing a spiral of light. An entire galaxy hidden behind energy fields and black dust. "We went home," Admiral Sarah whispered. "What do you want from us?" The human face tilted its head, almost kindly. "Nothing," it said. "We only came to return what you left behind." The screen flickered again, showing broken ships, ruined planets, millions of alien corpses from ancient wars. Every empire's crimes, every forgotten massacre. "These are your memories," the voice said. "You buried them in silence. We brought them back." Then the ships began to move. They didn't attack. They simply opened. Massive, flower-like structures unfolding in space. From within, beams of light shot out, connecting world to world. Communication networks collapsed instantly. Every system went dark. Every empire went blind. And through the darkness came one final broadcast, heard on every channel in every tongue. "Silence is peace. Peace is strength. We are not your enemy, but we remember what you did." Then the light vanished. The human fleet disappeared without a trace. No jump signatures, no energy trail, just silence. For 3 days, the galaxy held its breath. Then, across 1,000 worlds, new signals began to appear. Small lights in the sky, relays, beacons alive once more. But this time they didn't speak. They listened. Every whisper, every order, every lie sent across the galaxy was now being recorded. The empires realized too late. Their every word was being watched. And the message was clear. Humanity had returned. But not for conquest, for judgment. In the quiet of her dark command room, Admiral Sarah looked out the window at the stars. Her voice was barely a whisper. "They're not fighting us," she said. "They're reminding us." Her second officer frowned. "Reminding us of what, Admiral?" She closed her eyes. "That silence is never weakness." The galaxy had gone quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. After the human fleet vanished, No one spoke freely anymore. Every empire, every council, every ruler was afraid. Because they all knew the same truth. Someone was listening. The Varelian Empire shut down half its communication relays. The Third Dominion sealed their data vaults. The Great Zuroth Alliance stopped trading information altogether. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. It wasn't war that destroyed the galaxy's order. It was fear. Admiral Sarah watched from her command deck as entire sectors went dark. No signals. No reports. Even her own officers whispered instead of speaking. Every system believed the humans were still out there, hearing every word, watching every move. Her junior officer finally broke the silence. "Admiral, permission to speak freely?" She nodded. He leaned closer and whispered, "What if they never left?" Sarah's eyes didn't move from the stars. "I think they didn't," she said quietly. "They just stopped hiding." In the capital world of the Third Dominion, chaos ruled. The High Lords accused each other of speaking too loudly. They destroyed their own satellites, fearing they were bugged by human AI. Their economy collapsed in 1 month. Their fleets mutinied. And in the middle of it all, a strange message appeared across their planetary networks. 3 words, glowing white, impossible to delete. "We are listening." News spread fast. World after world found the same message, sometimes in digital code, sometimes carved into the hulls of derelict ships drifting through orbit, sometimes whispered through static when no one was talking. No one saw humans. No one heard their voices again, but their silence screamed louder than any fleet. In the council hall of the Zuroth Alliance, Ambassador Lyran stood before a room full of trembling diplomats. He slammed his fist on the table. "This is madness. They haven't attacked us. Why are we destroying ourselves?" No one answered. Half the room stared at the ceiling, afraid their words were being recorded. Finally, one old senator spoke in a shaking voice. "You don't understand. They don't need to attack. We're doing it for them." And he was right. The galaxy had built itself on lies, on secrets, fear, betrayal. But now, with someone listening to every secret, no one dared to lie. No one dared to plan. Without lies, the great empires couldn't survive. Their power crumbled, bit by bit, world by world. Meanwhile, far beyond the council worlds, strange lights appeared again. Faint white trails across the void. Scouts sent to investigate never returned. Every report that did come back said the same thing. The lights aren't ships. They're eyes. Something was watching. Something vast. Something alive. And deep within the shadows of space, a quiet voice whispered through the static again, but only once. "Truth is louder than war." Then silence. On the Varelian flagship, Admiral Sarah reviewed the last transmission. She played it again and again, trying to understand its meaning. Truth is louder than war. What did it mean? Her AI officer turned toward her. "Admiral, there's something you should see." He projected a star map. Entire sectors, ones humanity once occupied, were glowing faintly. Not with energy signatures, but with communication patterns. Billions of small, synchronized signals. Every whisper, every lie, every threat being copied and transmitted somewhere unseen. Sarah's heart sank. "They're recording us," she said softly. Her officer looked afraid. "But why? What are they doing with it?" Sarah closed her eyes. "They're building something," she whispered. "A mirror, to show us what we are." Across the galaxy, chaos turned to collapse. Governments fell. Alliances broke. Worlds turned on themselves, trying to erase every trace of their own crimes before humanity could reveal them. And in that fear, violence returned. Cities burned. Fleets fired on their own worlds. People vanished into the void, praying that silence might save them. But it didn't, because silence now belonged to someone else. Then came the day of the broadcast. Every screen, every channel, every comm system in the galaxy flickered to life. Static filled the air. And then, the same human voice spoke again. Calm, measured, unforgiving. "You feared our silence. But it was never silence. It was listening." Images followed. War crimes, secret massacres, hidden betrayals, everything the empires had tried to hide for centuries. And at the end of it, one final message appeared. We learned silence from you. Now learn truth from us. When the broadcast ended, there was nothing left to say. The great empires of the galaxy, the same ones that once laughed at humanity, were now broken, exposed, and ashamed. Their fleets drifted empty. Their rulers vanished. And in the endless dark, the only sound that remained was the quiet hum of human machines, listening, always listening. Admiral Sarah stood alone on her bridge, staring into the empty stars. She finally understood. Humans didn't need to rule the galaxy. They didn't need war, or fire, or vengeance. They had something far more powerful. For weeks after the great broadcast, the galaxy stayed silent. No messages, no trade, no fleets moving. The stars themselves felt frozen. The great empires had fallen apart, not by weapons but by truth. Their secrets were out. Their leaders were gone. And their people didn't know what to believe anymore. Everywhere, whispers spread. Will the humans speak again? What do they want? Is it over? But deep inside, everyone knew it wasn't over. It had just begun. Admiral Sarah hadn't slept in days. Her ship drifted near the border of the old human zone, where the last signals came from. The crew barely spoke. They all waited for something, for someone, to break the silence again. Then, one night, the stars changed. Tiny points of light began to appear across the dark void, millions of them, forming lines, curves, and circles. Pattern. Her officer gasped. Admiral, that's a message. The dots aligned, glowing brighter until they formed a single word across the sky. Truth. At that same moment, across the galaxy, every device came alive again. Screens lit up, radios crackled, and the human voice returned. Calm, steady, impossible to ignore. We watched, it said. We learned. We waited. Now we speak again. The image of the human face appeared once more, flickering, made of light. Your empires built their power on silence. You silenced the weak. You silenced truth. You silenced us. The voice paused. But silence taught us something. It showed us what hides beneath noise. Behind the image, the stars shifted again, revealing thousands of glowing dots, each one a world, each one connected by lines of light. Every lie is a thread, the voice continued. When you pull it, the truth shows itself. And now you see what your truth truly is. On the Varelian flagship, Sarah watched with cold fascination. She whispered, "They didn't destroy us. They made us look in the mirror." Her officer frowned. "But Admiral, if they only wanted truth, why all this? Why the fear?" Sarah's eyes didn't move from the screen. Because truth only lives when fear dies. And we were never afraid of lies, only of being seen. The broadcast changed again. Now the face was gone. Instead, there were images. Humans rebuilding forgotten cities on ruined planets. Children laughing under skies once black with warships. Colonies growing in peace. The voice spoke softly. We did not return to rule. We returned to remind. The images shifted again, showing humans helping alien refugees, sharing food, repairing stations abandoned by their own rulers. We remember what it was like to be small, to be weak, to be unheard. We remember your cruelty, but we also remember your mercy, the few who helped us survive when all others turned away. The tone changed. It was no longer cold. It was human. We listened to you for centuries. Every story, every prayer, every cry. And we understood something simple. The universe does not need rulers. It needs listeners. In the halls of the broken Galactic Council, survivors watched in silence. No one spoke. No one dared to, because they finally understood. Humanity had not built an empire. They had built truth itself. They became what the galaxy feared most. A species that no longer needed power to control. Only silence. On the screen, the voice continued. Your silence was your weapon. Ours became our shield. We will not command. We will not conquer. But we will always listen. Then came the final words, echoing across every planet, every ship, every star. Speak with truth, or be silent forever. The message ended. The stars dimmed back to normal. The light in the sky faded. And once again, silence returned. But this time, it wasn't the same silence as before. It wasn't fear. It was understanding. Admiral Sarah stood by the viewport, watching the last traces of light fade away. Her second officer spoke softly. "Do you think they'll ever speak again, Admiral?" She smiled faintly. "They already did. We just finally listened." She turned away, her reflection glowing faintly in the starlight. "Maybe," she whispered, "that's what it means to be human." Far across the void, on a forgotten world once called Earth, the lights of old cities flickered back to life. Tall towers stood silent, shining softly against the night. And in their glow, machines hummed, listening to the endless stars. The silent ones were gone, but their message remained. In the darkness of space, the words appeared one last time. Simple, quiet, unshakable. "We are listening." Silence ruled the stars. But this time it was a peaceful silence. The wars were over. The lies were gone. The great empires that once controlled thousands of worlds were now shadows of their former selves. And in that silence, something new began to grow. On the ruins of the old Zuroth capital, children played among the broken towers. They built shelters, gardens, and homes from fallen steel. No one commanded them. No one ruled them. Yet somehow things worked. Messages passed from one world to another. Not orders, not threats, just words of help. Simple signals of unity. It was as if the galaxy itself had learned to whisper again. Softly, kindly. Admiral Sarah watched it all from orbit. Her ship hovered above the planet, silent except for the quiet hum of power systems. She looked at the latest reports. Worlds once divided by war were now sharing resources. Alien fleets once built for conquest were now transporting food. Even pirates had stopped raiding. Many now acted as protectors for the weak. And at the heart of it all, every transmission ended with the same three words. "We are listening." Sarah smiled faintly. Those words had changed everything. The humans hadn't conquered the galaxy, they'd healed it. By forcing everyone to face the truth, they had torn down the walls of fear. And now, silence had become something sacred, something powerful. One evening, as Sarah walked the observation deck, her young officer approached her. "Admiral," he said softly, "do you really think the humans are still out there?" She looked out at the stars, glowing like 1,000 eyes in the dark. "They never left," she said. "They're part of everything now." He frowned. "You mean they're watching?" She shook her head. "No, listening. There's a difference." Across the galaxy, strange things began to appear again. New satellites, unmarked, silent, appeared over rebuilding worlds. They didn't send messages. They didn't ask for anything. They only listened. And when someone cried for help, somehow, without fail, help came. No one saw ships arriving. No one saw who helped. But food appeared in empty colonies. Destroyed habitats repaired themselves overnight. Lost fleets found their way home. People started calling it the Silent Aid. And some whispered another name, the Returners. In one forgotten corner of the galaxy, deep inside a blue nebula, a small human outpost watched quietly. Rows of operators monitored thousands of signals. They never spoke unless necessary. They just listened, recorded, and learned. On the central platform stood a single figure, old, calm, and human. He looked up at the holographic map of the galaxy, filled with glowing dots of life and communication. "They're learning," he said softly. A young technician nodded. "Yes, sir. The noise is fading. They're listening now." The old man smiled. "Good. Then our work is done." He turned away, walking toward the observation window, where Earth hung like a pale blue gem in the distance. "We don't need to lead them," he said. "We just needed to remind them what silence really means." Back on the Varelian flagship, Admiral Sarah received one final transmission. It was encrypted human code. She hesitated, then played it. The screen flickered to life. No voice this time, just text. Admiral Sarah, you listened when others shouted. You saw when others looked away. You kept your silence when the truth was loud. Then another line appeared. You are ready. Sarah's heart pounded. Ready for what? She whispered. The answer came slowly. To listen with us. Her screen went dark. And then, quietly, her ship's systems shifted. Every console glowed faint blue. The same soft hum that once followed the human fleet filled the bridge. Her crew looked around, confused. Admiral, she smiled gently. Don't be afraid, she said. This is how it begins. Across the galaxy, more ships began to glow the same way. Not in one fleet, but scattered everywhere. Old warships, civilian transports, abandoned stations. One by one, they awakened. And from each came the same soft signal. Not loud, not threatening. Just one sound, a calm, rhythmic pulse. The sound of listening. In the centuries that followed, that pulse became the heartbeat of a new era. There were no more emperors, no more endless wars, only watchers, listeners, keepers of silence. The galaxy called it the New Dawn, a time when truth was stronger than weapons, and silence spoke louder than any voice. As the story of humanity faded into legend, one phrase remained across the stars, painted on ships, carved into stone, whispered in every tongue. Silence is not the end. It is the beginning.